Welcome to our special program on Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Tajikistan. I'm Li Qiuyuan, coming to you live in Beijing. The plane carrying Chinese President Xi Jinping is heading towards Dushanbe, the capital of Tajikistan, where he will pay a state visit. A welcoming ceremony with music and dance performances is scheduled, with nearly 1,000 people attending. The president is flying from the Kazakh capital, Astana, where he paid a state visit and attended this year's summit at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Our President Xi Jinping will soon be arriving in Tajikistan's capital, Dushanbe, for a state visit. Our Yang Chengxi now reports from the airport there.
We are now at the Dushanbe airport, where Chinese President Xi Jinping is expected to arrive soon for a state visit to Tajikistan. Some 1,200 young Tajik students will be participating in a welcoming ceremony featuring song and dance of Tajik style and Chinese style. It would be a warm welcome, and that's not surprising considering the two countries have shared a long friendship. The last time Chinese President Xi Jinping visited Tajikistan, the two countries signed agreement to deepen their comprehensive strategic partnership and vowed to build a common community of development and security. Now, these are topics that were heavily featured in the SCO summit as well. So experts expect the two state leaders to further these discussions and more. For example, how the Belt and Road Initiative could be more aligned with Tajikistan's own national development strategy by 2030. Experts also expect other areas of discussions as well. For example, green technology, digital technology, and artificial intelligence. So a lot of synergies are expected to be found as the two state leaders engage in a series of activities.
Let's now go live to our correspondent, Michal Bardovich. She is live in Dushanbe, Tajikistan for us. Great to see you there, Michal. Give us the latest from where you are.
Well, we've been roaming the streets here in the capital, Dushanbe, over the past couple of days, and now there are Chinese flags all over this city in anticipation of President Xi Jinping's arrival to Tajikistan for this significant visit. Officials here have been really preparing. They are expecting a very busy, a packed schedule. But it's not just the officials who are in anticipation of this visit. It's also the Tajik people as well, because many Tajik people are quite aware that China is the main investor in this country and that many of the projects that have been implemented by China have really had an impact on the lives, the everyday lives of Tajik people. For example, China was, of course, influential in creating and constructing the power plant in Tajikistan, which has affected their everyday lives because now they don't have major power shortages as they used to have about a decade ago. Also, we've talked to a lot of young people who are very excited as well because, for example, we visited the Confucius Institute where we talked to many students, and they are just so excited to have the potential opportunity to study in China, and that's why they're very keen to study the Chinese language, to learn about the culture, because they believe it would be an investment for their future. And there are other joint projects as well that have also had an impact on people here. For example, we talked to one patient yesterday who underwent eye surgery that was provided to him for free by Chinese doctors who performed surgeries here in Tajikistan in June. So there are many projects, joint projects, who are beneficial for the people of both countries. And that's why it's not just the officials who are in anticipation of this visit, it's also the people of Tajikistan.
Michal Bardovich live for us in Dushanbe. Thanks so much. Now we would like to go to some of the news from SCO meetings in Astana. Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for solidarity, trust, peace, prosperity, development, good neighborliness, friendship, fairness, and justice. He made the remarks when attending an expanded meeting at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization.
Xi Jinping stressed the significance of the Shanghai spirit and the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. He called for all parties to respect the development path chosen by each country. He said members should strengthen exchanges on their experience of government and called for a forum for political parties. He called for better security cooperation mechanisms, and he proposed that 2025 should be the SCO year of sustainable development. Xi Jinping also said China is willing to work with all parties to advance regional cooperation and to establish a financing platform of the organization.
China welcomes all parties to use the Beidou navigation satellite system and to participate in the construction of the International Lunar Scientific Research Station. China proposes to establish an SCO Digital Education Alliance. China is ready to provide no less than 1,000 training opportunities for digital technology in the next 3 years.
Xi Jinping said cultural exchanges play an increasingly important role in world peace and prosperity. He announced that China would invite 1,000 young people for exchanges in the next 5 years. And he encouraged all parties to advocate equal, orderly multilateralism and inclusive economic globalization. China will take over the rotating presidency of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization after the summit. President Xi said China is ready to collaborate with SCO partners to build a community with shared future for all mankind.
And at the SCO Plus meeting, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for global reforms to address the current climate crisis.
It's high time to put a price on carbon and to tax the windfall profits of fossil fuel companies. By COP29, we need early adopters to start putting solidarity levies on sectors including shipping, aviation, and fossil fuel extraction.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has congratulated Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko over his nation's accession as a full member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. President Xi Jinping made the remarks when meeting with President Lukashenko on the sidelines of the SCO summit in Astana. He said during Lukashenko's visit to China last year, a new blueprint was drawn up for the development of the China-Belarus all-weather comprehensive strategic partnership. And for his part, President Lukashenko congratulated China for assuming the rotating SCO presidency. He also expressed support for President Xi's global development, security, and civilization initiatives. Meantime, Chinese President Xi Jinping says China will continue to support the UN's central role in international affairs. It follows his meeting with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on the sidelines of the SCO summit. Xi Jinping said the UN as a core platform for implementing multilateralism and advancing global governance. He also said China will always uphold true multilateralism regardless of the international situation. Guterres said the UN appreciates China's support for its causes, adding that the nation plays an important role in promoting world peace and development. And Chinese President Xi Jinping's plane will soon arrive in Dushanbe. We're standing by for that. Earlier, we've seen live pictures of thousands of people, almost thousands of performers waiting there. The SCO summit has provided a platform for member states to promote diplomacy and cooperation. Our Dong Xue has more details.
The Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit wrapped up with the Astana SCO Declaration in Kazakhstan on Thursday, adopting Belarus as the 10th member of the organization after Iran joined last year. At least 20 major documents have been signed at the summit in Astana, including the SCO Development Strategy until 2035, the Energy Cooperation Development Strategy until 2030, and the Program of Cooperation in Countering Terrorism, Separatism, and Extremism for 2025 to 2027. Beijing says the leaders of participating member states have pledged to strengthen cooperation in the fields of trade, transportation, energy, finance, agriculture, the digital economy, scientific and technological innovation, as well as deepen people-to-people and cultural exchanges.
Mr. Xi Jinping said that there is more and more protectionism in the world right now. So within the SCO, we have to put the economic cooperation as a priority, especially the energy cooperation, because China is the biggest consumer of energy in Eurasia as the largest economy. And countries like Kazakhstan, Central Asian countries, Iran, and other countries from the Persian Gulf, like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, they are strong in exporting energy, oil and gas.
The leaders of member states said they are aware that the international landscape is undergoing major changes and agreed that the United Nations should play a central coordinating role in promoting the building of a more just global system. The leaders also agreed to strengthen efforts to tackle security threats and challenges, crack down on the three armed forces, namely terrorism, separatism, and extremism, drug trafficking and organized transnational crime, and support the international community's efforts to promote peace and development in Afghanistan. They also voiced support for the comprehensive and just settlement of the Palestinian issue based on a two-state solution. China is a founding member of the SCO and will take the rotating presidency in 2025. Beijing says it hopes to open up a new chapter of cooperation while contributing to security, stability, development, as well as prosperity of all countries on the path of building a community with a shared future. Dongxue, CGTN, Astana.
We're getting words Chinese President Xi Jinping's plane has arrived in Dushanbe International Airport. The aircraft is still taxiing on the runway. These are some of the pictures coming from Dushanbe, the capital of Tajikistan. This is President Xi Jinping's third state visit to the country as he wrapped up his visit to Kazakhstan. And Tajikistan's capital Dushanbe is getting ready to receive Chinese President Xi Jinping, who is due for a state visit to the Central Asian country.
We are anticipating the visit of our honored guest because the relationship between our countries is evolving in all areas vital for society and the country. We hope his visit will lead to Tajikistan's development and facilitate the signing of new joint agreements in economics, trade, and culture. This will lay the foundation for a future peaceful relationship between our countries.
Expectations are high. It will be good to sign more agreements, for example, in the field of business or construction. We very much want our people, the Tajiks, to continue to be very good friends with the people of China.
We're confident that President Xi Jinping's visit to Tajikistan will further solidify the positive relationship between our nations, and we look forward to fostering even closer ties with the people of China.
Very glad to continue, not only continue our bilateral relations, useful for both sides. Also, we will prepare new project for the deepening or rising our bilateral relations.
And for more, I'm pleased to be joined by Mr. Rong Ying, Senior Research Fellow at the China Institute of International Studies, and Mr. Jiang Gong, Professor of Economics at the University of International Business and Economics. Great to have both of you with us. So why don't I start with you, Mr. Rong? What's your expectation of President Xi Jinping's speech or this visit there in Tajikistan? As we've just seen, his plane has just landed in Dushanbe.
Yeah, certainly I think there are many big expectation in terms of further strengthening and deepening the relationship. China and Tajikistan are close neighbors and good friends and partners ever since the establishment of diplomatic relations 1992. We have seen the relationship has been moving upward, and particularly I think in terms of the definition or characterization of the relationship from the strategic partnership to comprehensive strategic partnership to a community of development and security, and finally that was last year a full-fledged community of with shared future. And this relationship has been largely sort of led and directed by the top leadership, President Xi, President Emomali Rahmon, and others. And because of that, the deep political trust in terms of the political relations on issues of related to sovereignty, territorial integrity, independence, and issues of core interest in case of China, Taiwan issues, and others.
Right, and the two presidents did maintain frequent interactions, right? This is the third time President Xi is visiting Tajikistan, but they did meet last year when President Rahmon visited Xi'an actually, to attend the China Central Asia Summit. What's your expectation for this visit? What do you think will be the focus of discussion between the two leaders?
Well, this is a state visit. I think in addition to state visit related matters, I think there's going to be a personal touch, as you alluded to. I think these two people are very very close friends. President Xi visited Tajikistan in 2014, and he visited Tajikistan once every 5 years. But for President Rahmon, he has been here, I counted at least 6-7 times in the past 20 years. So, he has been a good friend of China for many, many years, for decades, actually. So I think I would expect some personal touch to this state visit, the strengthening of the personal relationship between the great two leaders of the two respective countries. So I would expect a lot will be achieved, even though it's not going to be a very long trip. But I would say, I would expect that the results will be fruitful.
Stay with me, gentlemen. Let's take a look at this. As one of the founding members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Tajikistan has shared close ties with China over the past 3 decades.
Tajikistan has a population of around 10 million, with 93% of its land covered by mountains. Due to its mountainous terrain and abundant rivers, Tajikistan is home to some of the world's largest hydropower plants. The mountains also define its borders, with China to its east. Since 1992, when Dushanbe and Beijing established ties, Tajikistan has received much support from China. Tajikistan views the Belt and Road Initiative as an opportunity to increase foreign capital, modernize its infrastructure, and build better connections with Europe and China. China is now one of Tajikistan's largest investors and top trade partners. In 2022, China accounted for 17.5% of Tajikistan's trade, second to Russia. By 2023, bilateral trade rose 53.5% from a year ago to a record $3.9 billion. The two countries have an intergovernmental commission for trade and economic cooperation and a sub-commission between Tajikistan and Xinjiang, the northwestern Chinese region closest to its border. Tajik President Emomali Rahmon has visited China nearly 20 times since 1993 to deepen bilateral ties. In 2017, the two nations forged a comprehensive strategic partnership. During President Rahmon's state visit to China in 2023, President Xi expressed China's willingness to build a community with a shared future with Tajikistan. President Xi considers Tajikistan an ironclad friend of China. The two countries continue to consolidate political mutual trust, enhance cooperation in energy and industry, and facilitate people-to-people exchanges.
So more than 30 years of friendship, Professor Gong. Tajikistan is also one of the founding members of the SCO. What does that relationship, that membership, and also his close ties with China mean for the country?
Well, I think from a political perspective, Tajikistan serves a very important role in achieving one of the most important objectives when the SCO organization was founded. That has to do with the security aspect of things, preventing terrorism, preventing extreme radicalism, other extreme thoughts, and also terrorism, combating drug trafficking. Tajikistan is located in a very strategic location. So I think, its role played to address that aspect of SCO is vitally important to China. But of course, your program has already shown that Tajikistan also benefits greatly from its economic relationship with China in terms of investment, in terms of trade relationship. So I think, clearly, in the past, the two countries have benefited immensely from this bloc called SCO, both politically as well as economically. And I would expect this relationship will continue to thrive into the future.
Now, China and Tajikistan, Mr. Rong, have conducted joint drills on anti-terrorism. What are the security conditions there in the region? Why is this area of cooperation so important?
Well, I think as Professor Gong talked about, the threat of traditional and non-traditional security issues, particularly are related to the so-called three evils. And drug issues are very much, I think, serious, grave threats to Tajikistan and to all the SCO members, including China. So this is very much an issue where China and Tajikistan can work together for the common goods, the security issues, address security with SCO and the region as a whole. And also, I think Tajikistan, because it borders Afghanistan, and which I think still, for some reasons, terrorism and other security threats are very much an issue and a problem. So China, and together with Tajikistan, and I think with other countries, are working together to ensure that these issues again are properly addressed. And I think during the meeting, the SCO, China has already expressed the foreign minister meeting, I think in May this year, China has already expressed its support to put in place, to establish a kind of center for counter-narcotic drug center, which I think it will very much help Tajikistan's capabilities. This is very much.
Yeah, I want to add a note. Actually, during President Xi's speech just a few hours ago, he actually mentioned there got to be cooperation among the countries neighboring Afghanistan. Certainly, Tajikistan is one of the important countries neighboring Afghanistan, and the cooperation between the two countries and other countries surrounding Afghanistan is going to be vitally important for the future of Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's bordering Afghanistan and also China. If you look at the country, it's a country. You know, it's a landlocked country. 93% of the landmass is covered by mountain, is isolated by mountain ranges. So how does it seize its partnership with China?
Well, I think it's a very unique geographic feature over there. But I think there are also good sides of this very unique and also quite difficult terrain in that country. For example, the hydro resources we mentioned, right? China helped the country to establish hydropower facilities in that country, addressing the electricity shortage problem in Tajikistan. That's one of the great things that I think people in Tajikistan would be very grateful to. Another aspect I would say is that this country is also quite rich in mineral resources, as you just told me a minute ago. So I think that it's going to be opportunities for trade about these mineral resources in that country. I think this country waits to be developed, and I think it's a very good match between China's manufacturing prowess, technology prowess, with the very bountiful resources in that country.
Right. And this marks the 32nd year since the two countries established diplomatic relations, China and Tajikistan. How would you characterize the current state of the diplomatic ties between the two?
Yeah, the relationship and the status of relation certainly is great, but there are also potential to deepen and expand the relationship. We talked about the security cooperation, certainly very much important. We talk about cooperation at the multilateral level, regional grouping, SCOs. We talk about, I think, China and Central Asian state 5, that's C5, and of course others. And we also, I think, there are potential allies between China and Tajikistan on how to pursue a kind of we call win-win cooperation in terms of Tajikistan's development, improvement of transportation. We talk about it's a mountainous country. The terrains are difficult. It needs to better connected, have a better connectivity with outside world. And China, in this regard, has a capability and really helped Tajikistan a lot in terms of building roads and others.
There's a railway project, I think, right? Involving
railway,
Tajikistan, and also
that's right. And also, I think in terms of the building up the capacities by training the personnels for industrialization, so industrial parks and others. And there are Chinese are very popular. There are a lot of, Tajiks would like to learn Chinese because there are not many Chinese investors. So speaking Chinese is a big plus, which means good job. And also, I think China is helping them, by setting up called the Luban workshops, in which teach, Tajiks to acquire the know-how so that they can
sort of a vocational
vocational training, things like that. So this is a very, I think, sort of a substantial, very real sort of things that help Tajikistan to develop and to in a way that not only for its own development, but by translating its potentialities, resources into real development.
Yeah, collaboration projects that could make real impacts on people's lives. Now, in the heart of mountainous Tajikistan, a once dangerous highway has been transformed. CGTN's Yang Chengxi tells us how this 360-kilometer highway linking Tajikistan's second largest city, Khujand, to its northern neighbor, Uzbekistan, has facilitated development.
This is a museum in Tajikistan's second largest city, Khujand. Among the many historical artifacts here, you'll find something quite unique. A set of workers' overalls. Why is this contemporary item held in such high esteem? Because it was worn by Chinese road builders who worked under these conditions from 2006 to 2009 in order to construct this. A 360-kilometer highway connecting the capital Dushanbe to the border of neighboring Uzbekistan in the north. Before the upgrade, this route was notoriously treacherous, even gaining some levels of international fame for featuring the so-called Tunnel of Death, which we will cross later. This road is also the only domestic link to Khujand. Such an essential highway would have been built much earlier if not for this, the Zarafshan mountain range. Before venturing into the mountains, we talked to some drivers offering car rides to Khujand.
In the past, the trip would take more than 10 hours. During winter, the road would sometimes be sealed off, forcing people to drive around the mountains through Uzbekistan to reach Khujand.
Wow, having to drive around through another country? Anyway, let's hop in again and see the highway for ourselves. A tremendous amount of work went into making this highway drivable year-round, including constructing over 3,000 meters of protective structures, 3 major bridges, and 35 smaller ones. As we journey deeper into the mountains, we'll see many of these tunnels. This is the Enzop Tunnel, initially built before the Chinese team came and upgraded the highway. It is famous for its nickname, the Tunnel of Death.
Yeah, the Enzop Tunnel is no joke. It's known as the Tunnel of Death, or the world's most dangerous tunnel.
Dream come true for claustrophobics.
Water leakage, poor lighting, and ventilation once made it dangerous for travel. But all that was in the past. After a series of improvements, the Enzop Tunnel would now likely disappoint those who are hoping to tempt fate. The weather is fickle in this region. Heavy rain accompanied us until the Enzop Tunnel, but when we exited, it was all sunshine. Harsh weather was once the greatest threat to drivers here. During the highway's construction from 2006 to 2009, workers not only built the road, but also rescued over 35,000 stranded vehicles and assisted 23,000 residents.
In winter, this road frequently experiences snowfall, and each snowfall will trigger an avalanche without exception. Therefore, there may be 3 or 4 avalanches in a month. We have established a dedicated maintenance team that stays at several avalanche-prone locations 24 hours a day to provide timely rescue.
Now this is a much more modern-looking tunnel. The over 5,200-meter-long Chinese-built Sharistan Tunnel was opened in 2012. As part of the highway project, it is the longest highway tunnel in Central Asia. Without it, people used to have to drive up the mountains.
In fact, 93% of Tajikistan is mountainous. So one of the types of transport that can provide high-level freight transportation is road transport. Therefore, construction is of immense importance for our country from an economic and social point of view.
For a long time, the lack of transport infrastructure hinders travel, work, and trade. Because of limited development opportunities, nearly a third of the country's economy relies on remittances from Tajiks working abroad.
expectations are put on building more roads to improve local livelihoods. As the Chinese saying goes, if you want to get wealthy, build a road first.
Transportation and infrastructure are two of the key areas of China-Tajikistan cooperation. CGTN's Mihal Bardavid interviewed the country's Minister of Transport, Azim Ibrahim, on these ventures.
Over the past 3 decades, Tajikistan has implemented many strategic plans with our neighbor China, particularly in relation to transport projects, which are very important. In 1996, an initiative was taken to open a temporary crossing called Kolma Karasu, and in 1997, the point of connection for this crossing was determined, and the construction of roads began. Finally, on May 25, 2004, this crossing was opened, and recently representatives from our two countries celebrated the 20th anniversary of this crossing.
In what ways have multinational frameworks such as the Belt and Road Initiative and the participation in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization facilitated the advancement of transportation infrastructure in Tajikistan, and how have these collaborations impacted regional integration?
The Belt and Road Initiative proposed by Xi Jinping was supported by our president, and today, within the framework of this initiative, many works are being carried out in Tajikistan. For example, one of the multimodal routes from China through Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkey, and Europe is located on this route, and today we strive to meet international standards for this road.
How do you envision the cooperation with China on transportation infrastructure projects will stimulate job creation in the local level and foster economic growth in the regions directly benefiting from these enhancements?
About 11 Chinese companies operate in Tajikistan, and if 10 to 15% of these projects are Chinese specialists, the remaining 80 to 85 to 90% are all local employees who receive good salaries. This, of course, ensures jobs and decent living conditions.
Now, these connectivity projects, they are a major highlight coming from the BRI initiative. Now, Tajikistan, as one of the first countries to support China's BRI, talk to us more about it. Give us an idea of the main areas of cooperation between China and Tajikistan under that.
Yeah, it is true. I think Tajikistan is the first country that signed the MOU with China on the initiative for building a Silk Road economic belt. And ever since then, I think China and Tajikistan are working under the BRI framework to pursue their development in terms of, first and foremost, a synergy, better synergy of economic development. All
right, sorry to jump in there. We're getting word that President Xi Jinping's plane has just arrived in the airport, and you're looking at the pictures coming from the Dushanbe International Airport. Seems like that is Tajikistan President Emomali Rahmon walking on the red carpet, heading toward the president's plane. Is ready to greet President Xi as he arrives there for a state visit. There you go, People's Republic of China's President Xi Jinping has emerged from the plane, is waving to the crowds, is about to step down the stairs, and waiting for him a welcome ceremony full of ceremonial pomp and pageantry. We're getting words that there are about 1,000 performers waiting at the international airport there on the tarmac, waiting to perform for the president, ready to extend a warm welcome to the Chinese president. So how do you feel about it? I mean, a grand welcome, right, for the Chinese president.
It's a spectacular scene. I mean, at this time of the day, 9:30 in local time, you have more than 1,000 performers standing on the tarmac and dancing and singing and welcoming the president, the People's Republic of China. This is a terrific scene in my view. I think it shows the extent of warmth the President Rahmon extended to President Xi in welcoming his coming to Tajikistan, and it's a very touching scene in my view. And I would say, I would speculate that the president should be very happy at this point.
It's almost unprecedented, right? A meticulous preparation there by the Tajikistan side, ensuring every detail was in place for President Xi's arrival, with the ceremonial protocol being observed there. Your feeling, your reactions after seeing that?
Certainly, I fully agree. And this is not the first time. It is the second time, as far as say, for this trip. We were a few days back very much impressed at the welcome ceremony in Astana, Kazakhstan, where the kids sing the Chinese song.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that was incredible. So I would assume that maybe we're going to see similar scene of kids or these performers will be maybe playing something special, which I think again demonstrates that their kind of sentiment, a special sentiment of a neighbor to China and to President Xi.
And we were speaking about BRI, right? Earlier, Chinese ambassador to Tajikistan, Dushanbe, has actually said the BRI has acted a powerful boost to bilateral cooperation. As such, how has the framework deepened overall ties between the two countries?
Well, I think these programs, these projects, I hope, were going well, and I think there will be continued projects in the area of infrastructure. But I think we would expect this country needs a lot of infrastructure in terms of building roads and railways and other transportation infrastructures. And I think these opportunities would present both China and the Tajikistan good opportunities for cooperation. It works for both countries. And I also want to add a note, actually. We also, among the minorities in this country, in China, there's also a Tajikistan minority, right? So there are actually people living in China who are of the Tajikistan nationality, ethnic nationality. So I think it goes beyond just neighboring countries. I think we have people living on both sides of the border, and I think this is probably one thing that we should be mindful of. And this relationship is more than just neighboring countries, but also common people, right, residing on both sides of the border, and that intensifies the relationship and friendship between the two countries.
Right. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping has arrived in Dushanbe. Tajikistan President Emomali Rahmon is at the airport to welcome President Xi Jinping. A welcome ceremony with music and dance performances is scheduled, with nearly 1,000 people attending. President Xi Jinping is flying from the Kazakh capital Astana, where he paid a state visit and attended this year's summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. You're now looking at the pictures. These are earlier footage coming from the Dushanbe International Airport. There is Chinese President Xi Jinping paying a third trip to the Central Asian countries. And the president's highly anticipated state visit to Tajikistan is expected to mark another significant milestone in the diplomatic relations between the two countries. And when it comes to Belt and Road Initiative, some will also raise the jet trap initiative, right? If you look at Tajikistan, which is a really small and less developed country, some have claimed that there are political strings attached here. How would you respond to that?
I think would say no in terms of the importance and the BRI and the sort of opportunities and hope that BRI brought to countries like Tajikistan. You can imagine that Tajikistan used to be more than 30 years ago, the Commonwealth, of Soviet. When Soviet Union collapsed, they were faced a kind of a challenge that how to literally it's kind of question of survive and to transform itself to adapt to the challenges, and I think its relationship with China and the BRI offered hope, offered opportunity in terms of how to give full play. It's turned into its disadvantage of being a landlocked country to a kind of bridge connecting China on the one hand, a huge market and huge economy, to the other neighboring countries where are going regional integration. And that is exactly, I think, the reason why Tajikistan has been very close, enjoy so much kind of initiative like that. And the past 10 years and more have seen that BRI does make a big difference in terms of development in Tajikistan. Last year, it was reported that their economic growth stood at something like 8% something, very much, I think, quite sizable. And also, I think in terms of the average people, Tajik used to sort of make a living by going to other sort of Commonwealth country, including Russia, for job, working at a migrant job. And because of the BRI, because of the projects now, Tajikistan are able to start to embark their own industrialization by working with China Industrial Park. That means good job. They don't have to go. And also they have skills, trained, and that is very much important. That's why I think the Tajikistan now are working very closely with China on BRI in terms of synergizing their development strategy. They have a development strategy called 2030 with BRI. So this is an opportunity.
Right, it's all about policy alignment.
And of course, the investment China has brought in terms of improvement, infrastructure, and so forth. So I don't think it's a debt trap. Rather, it's a kind of opportunity and hope.
Right. These national strategies kind of complement each other. Let's get the latest from our correspondent, Mahal Bardavit. She is live in Dushanbe, Tajikistan there. Mahal, tell us more about what we can expect from President Xi Jinping's state visit. He has just arrived in Dushanbe's international airport. What happens next?
Well, we've really been talking to a lot of officials here about their expectations, and clearly, it's been clear to us that they believe this visit is going to be very significant, especially to boost bilateral cooperation and ties in various fields. They expect dozens of documents are going to be signed over the next 2 days in various fields as well. So we've talked, for example, with the transportation minister, who stated that joint infrastructure projects such as the Kulma-Karas have really been very impactful for the people of Tajikistan. He also stated that he is looking forward to other projects that could be implemented in Tajikistan as well. We also talked with the deputy health minister, who stated that they would like to improve and increase collaborative joint efforts. He stated that Tajikistan has specific plans, for example, to start to increase the use of traditional medicine, and that they are interested in establishing the use of traditional Chinese medicine, specifically in Tajikistan. Now, one key issue that was discussed in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit in Astana, which just wrapped up, was security. And Chinese President Xi Jinping himself, he underlined security during his speech at the SCO, and he said, and I quote, "Security is the prerequisite for national development, and safety is the lifeline to happiness of the people." So we do believe that potentially security is going to be one of the key issues that can be discussed between the leaders here in Dushanbe as well. And we talked to the ambassador at large of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Tajikistan, and he underlined that joint proactive steps to counter terrorism would also be very significant. So this could be discussed as well. And of course, economy is also critical. China is the largest investor in Tajikistan. Trade has been increasing over the last decade. Between 2013 and 2023, it has doubled. So I think the leaders could also explore ways to increase bilateral trade as well.
Mahal Bardavit live was in Dushanbe. Appreciated. Now, agriculture is the pillar of Tajikistan's economy, with its fertile lands producing some of the best fruit in the region. Our correspondent Yang Chengxi visits a bustling market in Dushanbe to learn more about the country's growing exports to China.
Look at these pyramids of melons. These were actually birthday gifts from the President of Tajikistan, Emomali Rahmon, to Vladimir Putin. It's no surprise if you know that melons are a symbol of this Central Asian country. Agriculture is the cornerstone of Tajikistan's economy, and the majority of farmers grow fruit. That's why this bazaar in the capital of Dushanbe is so full of colors. In fact, the name Dushanbe means Monday, because a weekly market was held here every Monday when the city first started as a small village. Now brace for a montage of me making weird noises as I explore this market.
Wow. I've never seen pears this small. Interesting.
These cherries are particularly delicious thanks to the region's unique climate.
Why are Tajik cherries so delicious? He insisted I taste it first.
Our clean air in Hassa makes the fruits naturally sweet and healthy. There are many buyers and importers from foreign countries who are interested.
Among the biggest export markets for them are Russia and China. In the first half of this year, over 3,200 kilograms of Tajik cherries were flown into China from this airport alone. Within 24 hours of being picked, these cherries are ready to be served on consumers' tables in their export markets.
Wow.
Sorry for that noise. Yang Chengxi, CGTN, Dushanbe, Tajikistan.
Economic and trade cooperation is an important driving force behind China and Tajikistan relations. And for Tajikistan, a resource-rich country grappling with economic challenges, China represents a reliable partner for infrastructure and investment. Ahead of President Xi Jinping's state visit, CGTN talks to Dushanbe Sharifi, head of international economic cooperation of the Tajik Ministry of Economic Development and Trade.
We are very happy that President Xi Jinping is going to visit Tajikistan with a state visit. This visit is going to raise our trade and economic cooperation to the next level, because currently we are envisaging to sign several important bilateral documents in the trade and economic sphere. We are going to sign several memorandum of understandings in specific sectors of our cooperation, such as trade development, infrastructure construction, digital technologies, including digital trade, innovation, education. These are very important areas of our cooperation, and we believe that this visit is going to open a new page in our future trade and economic cooperation.
Tajikistan is the first country to respond positively and take part in China's Belt and Road Initiative. So in what new cooperations are we seeing with this initiative going forward?
Very important infrastructure projects are being developed within the Belt and Road Initiative, especially Dushanbe-Chanak Road, which was implemented by the Chinese investments. And this road allowed us to increase the internal trade within this country and increase the trade turnover with other countries in the region. So we believe within this initiative, important infrastructure projects and important trade and economic initiatives are going to be implemented, which is going to allow the countries of the region down the Belt and Road Initiative to improve their infrastructure, to create new jobs, and to increase the trade and economic cooperation between ourselves.
So our correspondent Mahal Bardova just mentioned China is the biggest investor in Tajikistan, helping driving economic growth in this country. How would you expect this relationship to develop following President Xi Jinping's visit?
Yeah, certainly I think there's one area which I think we also need to take core attention is tourism. I think with the improvement of infrastructure, roads and others, there will be more Chinese travelers, tourists visiting Tajikistan. Actually, Tajik government has already taken steps along this line in terms of simplifying or even exempt visa applications. And it is reported that there could be also sort of reciprocate measures in this regard. That is very much important. And also, I think in terms of the education, China is again a very popular sort of destination country for Tajik students to sort of for their higher education. It's reported that there are over 5,000 students studying in China for various, I think, special disciplines and others. And So if we go along this line, we are going to see a kind of fully comprehensive, fully developed sort of cooperation, win-win cooperation on that, with solid base on society, the societal level, people-to-people level. That is, I think, another area, unexploited area, when China and Tajikistan relationship, the political relationship is so good, and economic trade and people-to-people relationship will develop.
Yeah, and we've just seen our correspondent Yang Chengxi's package on agricultural products there in Tajikistan. You know, agricultural cooperation between the two countries have actually gained some ground under the SCO framework. Professor Guo, how can Tajikistan in particular gain from this kind of cooperation?
Yeah, when you look at the trade patterns, about $4 billion, and I think 90% is actually Chinese exports to Tajikistan, and only 10% is actually from Tajikistan to China. And that trade pattern I would expect to be improved in the future. Otherwise, it will not be sustainable. And we have these Belt and Road projects in infrastructure sectors in Tajikistan. Ultimately, these things have to be paid back. I guess a lot of projects are financed by loans from China. So I think increasing exports, imports from Tajikistan, including imports of services. Tourism is actually an import of services from Tajikistan. I think these are very important. And speaking of the great fruits the program just showed, I would imagine one thing that we can do to help increasing imports into our country is through digital platform, in my view. President Xi also talked about digital economy, and I would strongly recommend the big e-commerce platforms here in China to set up operations in Tajikistan, so to facilitate the farmers of fruits in Tajikistan to sell directly to the Chinese consumers. It's a huge market, and I think these fruits will be definitely very much welcome here in China. So I think the trade facilitation through the e-commerce platform to simplify the process of transporting goods from Tajikistan to China and directly to the consumers in China, that would greatly contribute to balancing the trade between the two countries.
Right. The two countries are now exploring cooperation in areas like digital economy, e-commerce, cross-border e-commerce, and green technology, artificial intelligence even. What are the prospects on these new emerging industries cooperation?
Yeah, this is again an area where China and Tajikistan can work on in terms of knowledge transfer, technology transfer, and also in terms of personnel and training. And obviously, I think the Tajikistan, there are quite a lot. China and Tajikistan work together in terms of curriculum development and others. My experience, of working with Tajik, last year I visited actually Tajikistan, and I was very much impressed by the potentialities, by the hard working, the Tajik people, and also the need for help. And these are the areas China and can work on. Of course, I think Tajikistan has also helped China a lot in terms of, for the sake of win-win cooperation, but also in terms of, I think, serving as a kind of bridge connecting China and other Central Asian states and the region beyond. So this is with such a sound, solid political foundation, deep political trust, and I think we can expect that the relationship will go deeper and deeper, better and better.
Right. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping has released a statement upon his arrival in Dushanbe. He called Tajikistan a good neighbor, friend, and partner that can grow and become as close as a brother. President Xi Jinping said ties between the two countries have made leaps and bounds over the past 32 years, becoming a positive example of ties between neighboring countries. President Xi said he looks forward to speaking with President Emomali Rahmon and raising ties to a higher level. Now, red carpet, as you can see, is being rolled out for the president. The president has been greeted with the highest level of welcoming cheers and applause. They have exchanged pleasantries. President Xi is now graciously greeted by the Tajikistan Welcoming Committee. So Mr. Roying earlier mentioned people-to-people exchanges, cultural programs. So, Professor Gon, any cultural programs have caught your eye that has helped promoting mutual understanding between China and Tajikistan?
Well, the area that I'm most familiar with is in the higher education area. What are you seeing students from Tajikistan in our university coming to China to study? I think, this is actually vitally important for establishing people-to-people exchanges at that kind of a level. Once a student, always a student, right? I would expect that I was thinking about President Xi said that in an earlier speech that China is going to offer 1,000 opportunities for students to come to study in China. And I was trying to guess how many goes to Tajikistan, right? and one thing he mentioned is that China-Tajikistan relationship is an exemplary relationship for neighboring countries, and I think that comment should not be taken lightly. I think I attach a lot of weight to that statement, and as a result, I would expect quite a number of students out of that 1,000 quota goes to Tajikistan, I would say.
Looking forward to seeing more educational exchanges between the two countries. Thank you very much. Appreciate your analysis and insights, Mr. Rong Ying and Professor Zhang Gong here. Appreciate it. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping has arrived in the Tajik capital Dushanbe for a 3-day state visit. President Emomali Rahmon held a welcoming ceremony at the airport with over 1,000 people attending. We now want to leave you with some stills of his arrival in Dushanbe. I'm Li Qiuyuan in Beijing. Thank you so much for watching our special coverage. Bye for now.